all, this video is about the feature granular control of dynamic scaling of VM CPU or RAM. This is available from Apache CloudStack 4.16 release. Before going into the demo of this feature, I'll give you a quick introduction of this feature. Before this, we already have the feature dynamic scaling of VM CPU or RAM, uh, in which a global or zone level setting enable dynamic scale VM can be used to enable or disable the feature. Also, there is a flag on the templates which is dynamically scalable. With this feature, user or admin uh, gets more granular control of on the VM to disable the dynamic scaling of the VM. Along with the existing global or zone level setting, enable dynamic scale VM and the property of the template, a user or admin can disable the dynamic scaling at service offering and VM level also. Um, so overall, these are the four granular level settings which are available. Uh, Only if all these settings are set to true, then only a VM can be configured to be dynamically scalable. In other terms, these settings act as a kill switch. If any of these settings are set to false, then VM cannot be dynamically scalable. I'll show you this in a short demo here. Uh, Firstly, I'll start with by showing the existing settings. So this is the global or zone level setting enable dynamical scale VM. By default, the value is false, but I have set this to true for now for the demo. And in the templates, there is a property called dynamically scalable. Even I have set this to true for this template. So these are the existing settings. So the new settings that are now available are at the compute offering level and one at the VM level. So if you go to the add compute offering wizard, you'll see a new flag dynamic scaling enabled, which is by default true. If I create a service offering by disabling this flag, and any VM that is created for using this compute offering cannot be dynamically scalable because this flag is set to false here. Let's create a small compute offering with dynamic scaling in a disabled. We'll use this later. So I have disabled dynamic scaling enabled on this compute offering. By default, all the existing service offerings, they'll have dynamic scaling enabled set to true. This is to support backward compatibility. The other granular level for the dynamic scaling feature is at the VM level. So this is the VM creation wizard. So in the compute offering, I'm selecting the small instance where the dynamic scaling flag is enabled. And in the advanced mode of the VM creation wizard, we have this new setting dynamic scaling enabled, which is by default set to true. If a user wants to disable the dynamic scaling on this VM, he or she can turn this off. So first create a service offering with all the dynamic scaling settings set to true. So I have selected a small compute offering here and I have enabled dynamic scaling flag here. So VM expect to scale. So I'm launching this virtual machine. So if you see this property of the VM dynamically scalable, this is set to true because all the settings at compute offering uh, and the template and the global setting and at the VM level are all set to true. So since this VM is configured to be dynamically scalable, you get an option to scale the VM. And when we select any compute offer, higher compute offering, that VM can be scaled to that compute offering. The scale is in progress. So now I'm creating another instance by selecting a compute offering which we have already created, which is a small compute offering with dynamic scaling disabled. So if you go to the advanced mode here, this flag dynamic scaling is grayed out because the compute offering that we have selected is already have the dynamic scaling disabled. So I'm going to create this VM, expect not to scale, and I'm launching this virtual machine. So if we check the properties of this setting, dynamic scalable property is false because the compute offering that we have used here is has dynamic scaling disabled. Since this VM cannot is not configured to be dynamically scalable, we cannot scale the VM to. Now I'm creating another instance and I'm selecting the small instance compute offering. So this is a default compute offering and it has uh, the dynamic scaling flag enabled. So here in the advanced mode, now I have the option to disable the dynamic scaling on this VM. So let's go and create this VM, expect not to scale to. So I'm launching this virtual machine. If you check the property of this dynamically scalable, it is set to false because at the VM level, we have disabled it. So since this is not configured to be dynamically scalable, we cannot scale the VM. So overall, this is about the feature. As I said, all the settings that we have shown now, if they are all set to true, then only a VM can be scalable. Thank you all.